So here we have a couple of endpoints, right, that is demonstrating how we can insert our brand new information into the database, right, and how we can retrieve all the information from a particular collection, right. And we're doing that through a DAO that is allowing us to create a new data, is allowing us to retrieve all the data. Let's take a look at implementing a couple more things here. For instance, I would like to be able to find a particular user if you send me their credentials, right? So let's take a look at how we might want to do that, right? So if we go back to the controller, maybe we would like to find somebody who's trying to log in and like to be able to pass in the username and password so to try to log in. So let's expose this find user by credential. Right, so in here, we're going to send app.post, right, and we could do it a couple ways. We could say /API/users, right, and okay. Now this is a read operation, right? So usually we would use a get, right? Usually we would use a get, but because this is a you're passing information across the wire that might be sensible information, that might be private information, such as username and password. In a get, typically you would encode that information as part of the URL, username and password, like that. Now, this is considered to be bad practice, right? That you would encode information that is identifying myself, right, in the clear, right, as part of the URL. So this is not an appropriate thing to do. Even though it might be a RESTful or whatnot, this is not a good practice. Even if it's a read operation, what we're going to do is that instead we're going to use a post. Okay, if you use a post, then you could, instead of passing the username and password as part of the URL, you can pass instead embedded in the body. And once they're embedded in the body, you can then encrypt it. You can make sure that the data that is passing between the client and the server is secure. Right, so we're not going to pass information, even though we know this is a read operation. Right, we're going to use a post instead. Okay, so security trumps RESTful conventions. Right. So what are we going to do here? We're going to extract the username and password embedded in the body. Right. So we're going to say const the username is going to be in the request body username, and then we're going to retrieve also the password, or request body password. And now we can now that we have the credentials, we can maybe retrieve the user by their credentials. So we can say user DAO, and we're going to say find user by credential, and we're going to pass the username and the password. Right, this is going to retrieve the user, hopefully. And what we can do here is check to see if indeed there's a user that has that information, right? So we can say, if user, then we're going to respond with the user. Maybe we might want to clear the password. We can say user.password. Maybe we can replace it with ****, right? So that we're not sending these passwords back to the client, right? We're clearing it out. And then we can send it back. We can say response that sent back the user that you found. Otherwise, right, if the user was not found, right, we can respond with a different status. We can say that respond dot status. Maybe it would be 403, which is I think it's 403, that it's not allowed or something like that, right? And then we can send back maybe a message. The message might be user not found, or maybe we can embed the name of the user, and then the username. Right, not found. Okay, and then we can just return, meaning don't continue. Right, and then just come back. Okay. All right, so if we restart this server, right, and go back to Postman, let's see if we can find somebody here, right? So let's duplicate this, and we are going to call it copy. We're going to say, find user by credentials. We're going to save that, and it's going to be a post. It's going to be users. So we have a problem here, right? The problem is that we have two posts, right, that are both pointing to the same endpoint, right? And the server is not going to know which one you mean, right? So we need to distinguish them between the two. So for instance, these find user by credential, perhaps we can map it to maybe login, right? Login, right, instead. So let's restart. Oh, somebody was saying, can we assume that the users are unique? What if there is the case of duplicates? Yeah, so you can declare, just like _ID is by definition unique. You can also declare a field to be unique, like for instance an email or the username. In that case, the database is going to verify and make sure it will enforce that constraint. Yes, you can make certain fields to be unique, so the database will not allow that field to be repeated. All right, so let's try and hitting this endpoint. Let's restart the server. I think I already had done that. Let's head over here, and let's use Postman to instead use login. And in the body, we're going to try and find Dan. And so let's send over, and notice that it found Dan. Right, found Dan. Notice that I have cleared the ****. Right, I can send maybe Alice. Let's see, Alice. Right, and presumably we're not sending first name and last name, just the username and password. We can send that, and notice that indeed we found Alice. Right, Alice and Wonderland. So we could use this information, right, or this strategy to find folks by their credential. Now, what we don't have is the server remembering that this person has actually logged in, right? So here we're only just finding users, right? What if I pass a wrong password? If I send it, notice that I'm getting a user alice.found, right? So now I can use this strategy in the user interface, right? To depending if I get an error message like this, right? I can maybe not let you navigate to your profile page, right, and just keep you in the login page, right, and deal with that error.